All right. I guess we can kick things off. Satya, are you ready?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to our live stream. Today, Satya and I are going to talk about TrailblazerDX 2024 highlights for admins and developers. So, there's a lot that has happened at the event, and we try to summarize it in a session that's going to be like an hour or so. And yeah, we hope this will be useful, and we are going to provide links as well in case you want to dive deeper into any topic. You can do that after our session today. So with that, let's get into the forward looking statement, which basically is very important for this session. And it says that please make all your purchasing decisions based on generally available information and not based on what we will show today. And we will be showing you some forward looking stuff today. Basically, today's speakers, me and Satya, if you haven't met us before or seen us before, both of us are developer advocates working out of the APAC region. Satya, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Aditya. Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening from wherever you're joining. I'm Satya Sekhar Chegondi, and I'm a developer advocate along with Aditya for the APAC region, where we deliver a lot of content and other stuff to motivate developers to build on the Salesforce platform. With that said, back to you, Aditya.
All right. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn. We are on LinkedIn Live, so it will be easier to connect with us. And today's agenda, basically, it's a packed agenda. We are going to talk about 6 topics. We are going to start off with Einstein One Studio, which was our biggest announcement. Then we are going to go into Einstein for developers. Then we'll talk about what is everything new that is happening in Apex, LWC, user management, and finally automation. So this is the agenda, and let's dive into the first announcement that we had, which was Einstein One Studio. So essentially, what Einstein One Studio is, it lets you build on AI on top of Salesforce. And for that, we are offering 3 products. One is the Copilot Builder, which lets you build your own copilots, Prompt Builder that lets you build reusable prompts, and Model Builder that lets you get your own large language models onto Salesforce. So these are the 3 major tools that are present in Einstein One Studio, which is our low code builder. Now, where does this Einstein One Studio fit into the whole architecture of Salesforce? Is inside the Einstein One platform. If you take a look, this is the architecture. At the very bottom, you have Hyperforce, which is our hyperscale management platform on which your clouds are deployed on public cloud. You can scale a lot using Hyperforce. And on top of it, at the bottommost layer, you have Data Cloud, which is going to be the tool that you use to get the data from all different data sources together. Because in the end, the more data you have, the better your AI is going to be. And on top of your data cloud, you're going to have different models. You can either use the models that we provide out of the box, or you can get your own large language models onto our platform. On top of which, you have the Einstein trust layer, which is the most important part of our architecture, which is going to give you the security guardrails so that your company trusted data doesn't leave our Salesforce trust boundary. So that's what the Einstein trust layer takes care of. Now, on top of the Einstein trust layer is going to be our Einstein One Studio, which is our low code builders like Prompt Builder, Copilot Builder, Model Builder, and so on. Now, leveraging all of this is going to be Einstein Copilot, which is going to be a conversational AI assistant. Think of it like a chat window within Salesforce with which you can do any task that you want. And Copilot is something that is going to now span across all of the different apps and workflows. In fact, anything that you do with Einstein One Studio or Trust Layer or Data Cloud for that matter, all of the architecture that you're seeing below spans across all of the different apps and workflows that we have. So it's not really tied to one particular product. So that's at a very high level how the architecture is going to look like. But let's dive into 2 things. First, we will look at Prompt Builder and then we'll look at Copilot Builder today. So Prompt Builder, which is a part of our Einstein One Studio, is going to allow you to create reusable prompts. Now, why do you need to do this? Is because, first of all, prompt is an input that you give to AI, and based on what prompt you give, it's going to generate a response back. And the better your prompt is, the better the response is going to be. Now, it's important to create templates for prompts because not all of your users will be capable of giving prompts that are useful and prompts that will give them the right response. Which is why, as an admin and developer, you will create these prompt templates that your end users can just invoke by clicking a button. So that way, the experience is going to remain consistent across all of your different users. Now, for a prompt to be good, it needs to be grounded in data, which means you need to give all the necessary data points that are required in order to get the appropriate response. And we have ability in Salesforce to ground your data in different formats, which I'm going to show you in subsequent slides. So when I say creating prompt templates, you can create 4 different types of templates currently. So first, you can create a prompt template that sends out emails. That's the sales email templates. And then using prompt templates, you can fill in the values of fields. So those are the field generation templates. And then you can summarize a given record using the record summary templates. And finally, you can create what we call a flex template, with which you can create a prompt template that gives you text that can be used anywhere that you want. So these are the 4 different types of prompt templates that we allow you to create. And when it comes to grounding these prompt templates, which is really adding context or adding data into the prompts, we give you different ways. So first of all, you can add data using merge fields. That is something that is there across Salesforce already. Like if you're creating an email template, you'll be able to add merge fields. It's the same concept. You can add data from related lists. So let's say you're trying to generate a record summary and you want to include the data of all the related objects. So you'll just be able to add the related list and it's going to fetch all the data that belongs to that particular record. Now, these are some things that are available out of the box. But what if you want to create your own data set? Now, you can do that using either flows or Apex and add both of those as data into your prompt templates. Now, because of all of this flexibility, the source of the data that you have can really come from anywhere. Like you can get your data from Salesforce, from Data Cloud, or even external data. Now, once you create your prompt templates, you can invoke them from different places. So first, you can invoke them from without code because Salesforce is both pro code and no code. So how can you invoke your prompt templates without code? Is based on some out of the box elements that we provide. So let's say you create a sales email template. So you'll be able to invoke that by clicking this draft with Einstein button right within your email widget. If you create like a field generation email, you'll be able to click this button beside a field and generate the value of that field. Now, every prompt template that you create is going to have a corresponding flow action automatically created. So instead of you invoking these prompt templates from the elements that we give you, you can also invoke these prompt templates from flows in wherever you want, essentially. That flexibility is left to you. And finally, Procode. When you can invoke a prompt template from Flow, it means you can invoke the prompt template from Apex. And if you can invoke a prompt template from Apex, you can invoke it from APIs as well, because all of these are sort of interlinked. We use the same mechanism underneath. So within Apex, there is a bunch of code that you write using Connect API, and you'll be able to invoke the prompt templates. Of course, you have access using APIs as well. So really, we are giving you a lot of flexibility in terms of what data you can use inside a prompt template. And once you create a prompt template, where you can use it from. Because you can call it from APIs, you can literally call it from anywhere in the world, not just within the Salesforce ecosystem. So that is prompt templates. And what we'll do is we'll show you like a super quick look into how all of this looks. So this, if you remember from the architecture, all of this is built into the Einstein One platform, which means it's a part of your Salesforce platform and your setup. So all you need to do is search for prompt builder from within your setup, and you'll come up to this page, which shows you all the different prompt templates that you have created. Now to create a prompt template, you'll just click the new button and it's going to show you a pop-up that lets you select the type of prompt template that you want to create. So in this case, you can create 4 of these, which is what I showed you in the slide. Now, depending on what is the prompt template, you need to send it different inputs. In this case, I need to send some object data, so you can click on the object. And there is something wrong with my cursor, by the way. Um, Let me fix that. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay.
So while Aditya fixes that, if you have any questions, you can always post your questions on the in the comment section. We'll try to answer your questions during the session, maybe towards the end of the session as well.
Is it back? Are you all able to see what I'm seeing?
Yes, we can see Aditya.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get back. So you can select any object that you want essentially based on the type of prompt template you select and click next. It's going to create the prompt template for you. And once you create a prompt template, it's going to look something like this. Now, in this case, I'm creating a field summary template for the description of a particular property. Now here I give it a bunch of instructions, and as you can see, I have included a bunch of merge fields here. So you can access that from the resources section, where you have a bunch of resources. Like for the current object, you can add these merge fields, or if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see all the related lists as well. So that's something that you can add. And like I said, you can also create Apex classes to get the data for you. And how do you create an Apex class is actually very simple. All you do is create an invocable method. And this is something that we've always been creating for flows, for flow actions, invocable actions and stuff. So just create an invocable method, pass in a capability type, which you can find from the documentation, and nothing much is going to change here. And write your business logic, and your invocable method, all it does is it returns a response of type prompt, which is going to be a string. So in the end, the data that you supply to your prompt template must be a string, wherever it comes from. So that's something that we have done, and we've added the Apex class. Now, you can also do this using flows. So if you want to supply data from a flow, what you'll be creating is a new kind of a flow called template triggered prompt flow. And once you create this flow, it's going to be automatically invoked whenever your prompt template runs. It's going to run your business logic. And what it's going to return is a prompt instruction, which is again a text, like what you have seen before in Apex. And you can add instructions to this prompt. It's going to be a simple text field, whatever you want, you can add to this. Once your flow runs, it's going to concatenate all of the different prompt instructions and return the response back to your prompt template. Within your prompt template, once you have created it, we also give you a preview section. So you can select a record and preview how your prompt template works for a particular scenario. Now, in case you're happy with the response, you can deploy and activate it. If not, you can keep tweaking your prompt templates. So here you go. It's also going to show you the resolution. For example, all of the merge fields are filled in, and this is the JSON data that I'm getting from my Apex class. This is the input that has gone into the prompt template, and this is the response that's going to come back from the LLM. And coming to the LLM, you can choose what large language model is invoked. For example, we ship a bunch of out of the box models. But if you onboard your own model, that's going to appear in this list, and you can invoke your prompt template against that particular model. Now, this is your prompt template. To invoke it, like I told you, there are a bunch of different places. For example, if it's a field generation template, you can click on edit button next to your field. It's going to show this button here. Click that button, and it's going to run the prompt template automatically in the background, and it's going to give you a response back, which you should be able to see just about now. So it's the same response that comes back. You can click the use button and your field is filled with that particular response. So in a nutshell, that's how prompt templates works. This is like scratching the surface. because you have flex templates, you can invoke things from anywhere. It's up to you on how you want to leverage prompt templates. Now, moving on to Copilot. Now, this is one of the other offering. If you remember, I showed you on top of your Einstein One Studio, there is Copilot that spans across all the different products. Einstein Copilot is nothing but a chat assistant that you have right within Salesforce, and it is capable of reasoning through your requests and then taking the appropriate actions and giving you a response back. So think of it like a supercharged bot that's going to help you with whatever you want. Now, how does it really work? Is, let's say you put in a request in the chat window saying that can you create an email to do so and so. Now, in the background, what it's going to do is it's going to create a plan. So based on what you ask, it's first going to understand the intent of what you want to do, and it's going to create a plan of what Copilot has to do. And this plan is going to consist of a bunch of different actions. And once it's figured out the sequence of actions it needs to take, it's going to invoke all those actions. And these actions can either be standard actions that we ship out of the box or custom actions that you build. Once these actions are invoked, it's going to come up with a response and it's going to show it to you. And it's not necessarily a response that is generated all the time because it's capable of taking actions. Like it can update a record. It's going to update the record and give you a result back saying record updated successfully. So that's how Copilot works, the heart of which is going to be the planner, which is the reasoning engine behind how it understands your request. Now, all of this is going to go through the trust layer because that's the most important. We don't allow any sensitive data to go outside our trust boundary. Now, talking about the actions that Copilot takes, it can either be the standard actions, which are going to be either your platform actions, which are generic across all the different products, like creating a record, updating a record, summarizing a record. But we also ship actions that are specific to different clouds. Like Sales Cloud might have separate actions like forecasting and so on. So those are shipped for each individual product that you want to use. Now you can also create these custom actions, which again can be your flows, your Apex classes, external services. You can even invoke prompt templates that we just created from Copilot as well. And of course, MuleSoft APIs can be invoked because we are dealing with external services. Now let's take a quick look into Copilot and see how it works. So again, here we are in a normal Salesforce org. I'm not showing you the standard apps. I'm showing you a custom app just to give you the feel that it works across your custom apps as well. So on the top right, you're going to have a small icon for Einstein. You click that and it's going to launch the Copilot. And then you can put in any query that you want. For example, if I want to know how many properties are sold or closed this month, I give it a question. Now, behind the scenes, the planner is going to run. It's going to figure out what is the intent of what I'm trying to ask. It will figure out what actions it has to invoke. And then it's going to go ahead and invoke those actions and come back to me with a response. Now, in this case, since I asked it a number, it's just going to give me a number, which is 2. Now, let's say I give it a different phrase like summarize the waterfront property. Now, it's again going to analyze what I'm trying to do and it decides I have to summarize. But then when it comes across waterfront property, if you look at the list of records I have, there are 2 properties which have the name waterfront. So Copilot is confused on which property that I want. So what it's going to do is it's going to come back to me and ask for clarification. This is what we call a disambiguation step. So Copilot tries to get all of the details before it goes ahead and executes an action. So it's going to ask me, I'm going to submit the data that it needs. And once I submit the data, now it has everything it needs. It's going to now go in the background and run the action. And this time it's going to come back to me with a summary. And the summary is going to be rich text. So it has links and stuff. Things are in bold, italic, and so on. So that's at a very high level how Copilot is going to work. Now, how can you customize Copilot? So for that, you can go into setup and again search for Copilot in setup. It's going to show you a list of Copilots that you have in your org. We are right now in beta, so you only have one Copilot. In future, you'll be able to create more. So it's going to show you some basic details, a list of actions that this Copilot is capable of taking. And finally, you can click on Open in Builder to actually look at the planner interface for this Copilot. So I've already opened that up. And what you can see here is for the request that I gave, like how many properties are sold or closed this month. This is the planner that has executed in the background. Looks like there is some error. I can run this again, but you get the idea. This is the intent of what it's trying to do. It's decided it has to fire this particular standard action. This is the input, and you're going to get an output back. So that's how it typically works. Now, what can I do with custom actions? All of these are standard actions that we ship out of the box. Now, for custom actions, let's take a use case where I want to find the visit slots. Let's say I'm dealing with properties and I want to visit a particular property. And in order to do that, I need to know what are the available slots for me to visit. So for that, what I've done here is I've created an Apex class. And if you see, it's again an invocable method. Now I can actually now have Copilot fire this particular invocable method. Now, the way I do that is by going to Copilot Actions, again from within Setup, just go to Copilot Actions. You're going to see a list of all the actions that the Copilot is capable of running. To add a new action, just click on New and select the type of action, whether it is Apex that you want to run, Flow, or a prompt template. Now click Apex, choose the Apex class that you want to be added as a Copilot action. And once you do that, it's going to show you a UI that looks something like this. Now, what's important is once you add an Apex class or a flow as a Copilot action, it will figure out what are the inputs this particular action needs, what are the outputs this action gives out. But you, as a developer or an admin, you need to be extremely careful. And the most important step essentially is to fill out these particular descriptions. Because whenever the planner runs, how is it able to know which action to pick? Essentially, it's going to look at this description and figure out for the particular action the user wants to take, what is the action I need to invoke. Which is why these descriptions are important and you need to take your time to fill out these descriptions. Now, once you fill out these descriptions and let's say fire a query this time saying that find visit slots to Victorian Villa. Now, it's going to then identify and fire these two requests. This is what we call request chaining. Now, Copilot is also able to execute your actions in a sequence. In this, essentially what's happening is I just gave the property name, but my Apex method requires a property ID. So it's able to fire off a standard action by passing the record name. It's going to get back the record ID, and the record ID is the one that is automatically passed to your Apex method, and you're going to get the response back. And the response is what is shown to the user. So again, this is just a high level preview of something that I wanted to show on how things work. But there are deep dive sessions, like if you want to know how to work with prompt templates, there is a 40-minute session on YouTube. And if you want to know how to work with Copilot actions, there is again a 40-minute session. So both these 40-minute sessions, I gave it to you in 15, 20 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit fast, but watch these sessions on YouTube. The link will be shown to you. Just scan that QR code. These are available on YouTube and Salesforce Plus for you to dive deep. So with that, I want to quickly hand it over to Satya, who's going to cover Einstein for developers.
Thank you, Aditya. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay. I believe we should be able to see my screen. Can you please confirm, Aditya?
I am in full screen mode, but yeah, I'm able to see. No, Akash has to share your screen, I guess.
Okay. Cool. I think
I will go over the slides by the time Akash figures it out. I will change the slide and you can talk through it.
no, I can see my screen. I think it's my screen is up. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aditya. It was a nice presentation where I think most of the people who are new to Copilot now got an idea of what is Copilot, what is Prompt Builder, and how can you use all of these to productively build your applications and work with your applications. What I'm now going to show you is how developers can productively work using the latest and modern tools that are available. You have two options. If you are a developer, you have two options to build your components, maybe lightweight components or Apex classes and all. Maybe you can use a Visual Studio Code environment which can run on your desktop, or use the IDE. So now we have Code Builder, which is generally available. Um, you can get it in your enterprise and unlimited editions, and you can start working on Code Builder just like as you do in your Visual Studio Code. So whatever tools you have in your Visual Studio Code are also available in the Code Builder. What I'm going to share now is even more interesting, wherein the capabilities of your Visual Studio Code and Code Builder has gone a level up, I would say, wherein you can use something called as Einstein for Developers, wherein you can take the support of Einstein to write your code. I'm going to show it with a short demo in a short while, but then you can also analyze your code. So once you have written the code, you can also check your code before compilation if there are any errors that can be fixed. With that, let's see a demo. So here I'm in the IDE. Again, I'm using the code builder for the demo because most of you might already be using Visual Studio Code. If you're using Visual Studio Code, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm showing here, you should be able to do the same thing even in Visual Studio Code. Now we can launch the, in fact, you can install the Einstein for Developers. You can go to the marketplace where you can find an add-on called Einstein for Developers, which is currently in beta. You can install this. Once you install it, you can access it from your sidebar here, the activity bar. There is an icon which looks like our Einstein. You can just click that icon to launch your Einstein sidebar where you can write your prompts. But I'll also show you different things that you can do with Einstein. So when you type Einstein here, you can see something called as Einstein display status menu. When you click this menu, it shows you various options that you can do with Einstein for Developers. So it shows that your Einstein is ready. It is ready to take your prompts and generate the code, whatever you ask it to do for. And then you can also disable Einstein for Developers. And there are a bunch of options for you to enable, disable, and also configure your Einstein for Developers. Okay. Now let's try out Einstein for Developers. Before that, I also want to tell you that today I'm going to use an app called eBikes app, which is one of the sample apps that you can find in your developer website. You can go to developer.salesforce.com and click the build menu, and there you can find a lot of samples. I'm going to use one of the samples, which is a retail store. So here in Code Builder, let me open the a class that is built for the sample application, for which I launched the command palette. And here, let me open the product controller class. So we are going to work on this class where I have one method at least to get the products, which I'm showing here, displaying here. So I want to write one more method somewhere down here where I want to get the top products. So let me write a prompt for that. So here I'm writing a prompt where I'm clearly, precisely specifying what exactly I want. So here I'm telling that, asking it to write an Apex method that can be called from an LWC, which also means that that Apex method has to be annotated with RO enabled. And then I'm also asking it to give a name for the method. I'm calling it as get top products. Then the method also queries product underscore underscore C with some field here. Now you can see that I'm also using some metadata here. I'm asking it to generate a method which queries the product underscore underscore C. And then I'm also asking it to return the product name and MSRP, and the method does not take any parameter. So I can run this prompt. Before that, I also want to tell you that because we are using metadata, it's always a good practice for you to load the object definitions before writing any code. For that, you can go here and you can say refresh S object definitions, which is going to get all the S objects when I select this option, and it refreshes the object information here. So now Einstein has context of the objects that are available in your org. And also you can notice that I've opened one of the files here. Now Einstein LLM knows that there's a file which is open in the editor here, and this can be related to the prompt that I have written here. So now let's ask this question. Let's ask it to generate a method. And here in a short while, it will create a method for us. Here you can see that it has created a method exactly like what I've asked. It is not taking any parameters here. It is getting name and MSRP as the fields, and it is running on product, and it is order by descending, and it is limited to one. Now let's copy this code and paste the code in our file. So I can paste it here. Now we have written get top products. Now I want to write one more product. I want to show you one more approach of writing the code. And I'm going to show you, if you have already used Einstein for developers, because it's already available in beta for a long while now. And most of you people might have already started working on it. So here I can start writing the code. I can say at aura enabled. When I say at aura, you can see here I have a bunch of options. There is an option where you have like a spare box, which means that it is going to write a code snippet for you. So let me write that. It has created a method, a public static method. Now I want to I want to get some, say, let us say, get similar products. So I want to return some products, product underscore underscore C. Now you can see that I have the definition here, and it has to return a array of elements. Now I can give a method name. Let us call the method name as get similar products. And giving a name, say get similar products. Yeah, get similar products, not making spelling mistakes. I'll just type ID, and here when I type ID and give space, you should be able to see. You can see that it is giving me a suggestion. It is writing code for me. It is assuming that I'm going to work with a product ID, and it is also creating a SOQL query for me. I can go and accept that SOQL query. Okay, and maybe I also want to use along with product ID. I also want to use ID. Let me delete this code. I want to change the code. I don't want to use this code. Again, it's your choice. It's completely flexible, whatever you want to do. So I can say ID and say some product family ID. Maybe I'll select okay. I can select something like family ID. Let me select family ID here. So I give an ID and family ID, and whenever I type this and then say space, it is going to again rethink what could be the code, and it generates the code by using the family ID. Let's press tab here. It has given ID, name, MSRP, and description. Once I press tab, you can see that it is again populating the code for me. It is further writing the SOQL query. Again, I can choose to use all of these fields, or I can only select some of the fields here. So let me accept all of these fields. And then you can see that it is also giving me an option of selecting where option, like what is the product family. It is taking family ID, and it is taking product ID, and it is also taking security enforced. Now you can see that it has written the complete method for me. Okay, now I can also check if this method is good, and I can in fact analyze using the code analyzer. I can right click here, and you can see here there's an option called scan current file with the code analyzer. So here I can go and I can scan the file for the code analyzer, where it runs the analyzer for me. And then it is going to, here you can see that it is running code analyzer, and it is analyzing the targets. It's running the analyzer on all the methods here, and then it is going to throw if there are any kinds of exceptions that could occur. So once the analysis is completed, here you can see that I can see something in this yield line. When I hover over it, I can see that it doesn't have correct permissions enabled for SOQL. Maybe I can use with security enforced. I'll take this and let me add it here. And again, once again, let's run the code analyzer. So it's again analyzing the targets, and if that error is fixed, it's not going to show any of these figure lines here. There you go. Now that error is fixed. So we have done two tasks. We have used the instance sidebar to write the prompt and generate a method. We have also saw how to auto-complete the code using Einstein for Developers. Again, that is LLM, which is seeing your code, whatever you're writing, whatever you have written so far, and whatever you could write, it is predicting that, and it is generating the code for you. Now let's ask Einstein for one more last help. Maybe I can ask it to generate a test class for me. I know writing test classes is one of the major pain points for most of the developers. So I'll ask Einstein if it can generate a test for me. So when I click this, you get an option here to select the test class. I know I'm working on the product controller. I already have a test class called product controller. So let's select this. And within that test class, there are different methods. There is create product method, and there is test get products. We already saw there's a get products method here, and there is already one method which has just get similar products. So I want to make sure that whatever test cases, whatever test methods I'm writing, they are not overwriting the things that I've already written. So I can select this option and say, okay, it is going to generate a test case, a test method for me. So once it generates the test method, we should be able to see the method right here. Here you can see that it has generated a test method. I can click here to accept the test method. And you can see it has the context. It has written a test method to get similar product with family ID. I intentionally chose family ID, so it has generated a test method along with the family ID. So these are the few things that are latest on Einstein for Developers. You can go and try it out. And let's see what are other things that we have for developers today. And later we'll ask Aditya to share some of the updates for admins. Now here I'm back in Code Builder, my presentation. So far we saw how the Code Builder, a short demo of what is Code Builder and how to use it. And we saw how to use Einstein for Developers, wherein we saw how to convert natural language to code. And we also saw code auto completion, and we also generated a test case. And we also saw how to validate your code using your code analyzer. If you're wondering what are the things that we have inboxed at the moment, you can use natural language to code. You can write the Apex methods. You can use code analyzer to analyze your code, and you can generate the test case that you just saw in your demo here. And you have code auto completion, which is available both for your Apex classes as well as Lightning Web Components. But again, for Lightning Web Components, you can use code autocomplete for HTML and for JavaScript and CSS. HTML is not yet supported. And so the next thing that is coming up in Q1 24 is your code explanations, where it is going to read the code, which is written by someone else in your team maybe, and it explains what that code does. Okay, and all of these things are done by our really efficient LLMs, and these LLMs LLM used for Einstein doesn't use any of your data. It only sees your code. That's all about Einstein for Developers. Now let's quickly see what are the updates that were shared across in TrailblazerDX on Apex. So many of you might be aware of safe navigation operator, which was available since winter 21. So you might have probably used. The purpose of safe navigation operator is to avoid null pointer exceptions. So whenever you're calling a method, you want to make sure that there is no null pointer exception and then call the method. Now, what I'm going to talk about is null coalescing operator, which is a little different from your safe navigation operator. And it can be used along with your safe navigation operator. And the fun fact here is around 13% of unhandled Apex exceptions are null pointer exceptions. So you know the benefit of both your safe navigation operator and null coalescing operator. The syntax is pretty simple, as you can see at the bottom here. You'll be using a question here. This is the operator that you're going to use. And if this is null, for instance, I'm assigning supply title to page title. If supply title is null, it is going to take some default value from this right side. Let's see it with an example. Now, here I have an example wherein I'm getting a building city account. I'm using a SOQL query here. And you can notice that I'm using a safe navigation operator. So when I use safe navigation operator, assume the city is null. In which case, what should be the value of the matches? The value of matches will be null. Now, when we use the null coalescing operator, so this is how the code looks like. Now here, I'm using the question. So I'm using the same code, just like above, but now I'm also using question, that is null coalescing operator. So if city is null, it is not going to return null to matches, but rather it's going to return this default value. Now the matches value is 0. Okay, now let's see what is the next update that we got from TrailblazerDX is, and which is available in Spring 24, which is generally available in Spring 24, is the generation of UID. So this is one of the major asks in the idea exchange. So wherein earlier you used to have to do some kind of workarounds like this code that you are seeing here currently, wherein I am using a crypto library to generate a AES key with 128 bit encoding, and then I'm running an encoding utility and converting it to hex, and then I'm writing some kind of crypto logic for me to generate a UID so that it doesn't collide with other UIDs. But with the latest UID class, you can use a method called random UID, which can generate a 32-bit hex UID for you. And you can use it to refer to the objects, and you can also compare object with that UID and UID with the object. It also comes with the methods that you can use. For instance, you want to convert UID to string, or you want to convert from some string to UID. It's all available as a set of methods in the UID class. Okay, next let's see the things that are little futuristic. So far, whatever we have seen are generally available in Spring 24, but the things which will be available in Summer 24, one of the updates which I like most is scheduled jobs UI enhancements. Now, you can see the scheduled jobs through your setup, but then with the latest updates, you'll be able to monitor the scheduled job limit. We can modify the cron trigger if you want, cron expression of your scheduled job. You can pause your jobs, you can resume your jobs, you can do all of these things with the new UI. Let me show an example here. Here you can see that I can change the cron expression. So whenever I want, I can change the cron expression, and then I can resume the job and I can reschedule the job. The next enhancement I want to share is, again, it's from the Idea Exchange. You should be able to use formulas in your Epic class. As an admin, we are used to use a lot of formulas. We can write the formulas using formula builder and all. But when you want to use formulas in Apex, one of the workarounds that we used to do is like we used to create a formula field and then refer to that field in our Apex code. But again, that has few problems. Like when you use the formula field, there is a limit of number of formula fields. And not only that, you'll also be applying some kind of DML operations or your circle operations to get the formula field information. Now, with the latest thing, which you again be able to get a beta version of it on Summer 24. Currently, it is in developer preview. You can go and try it in the ScratchOps. Currently, it is only supported in ScratchOps. You can enable the formula evaluation in ScratchOps and try it out. So how does that work? Now here, you can see a class called Motaria. And you can use the formula eval namespace in which you can use formula builder class and call a static build method. Here you supply the parameters like you give the return type of the formula. Now, when you are writing the formula has a return type. You can, in this case, I'm saying that string is the return type. And then I also give the context class. Here, my context class is Motaria. So I'm saying Motaria.class is the context class. So once I give the context class within my formula, I can refer to the properties of the class. Like here, you can see I'm using if length in yards is less than 100, then return not super, otherwise return super. So this is how I have built the formula. Once you build the formula, you can call the evaluate method, which can evaluate your formula and give the return string. In this case, it has returned not super. And there is one more example here at the bottom, wherein we are also sending, we are also using account field as one of the properties here. So we are giving the account name as Acme Watercraft and site as New York. And then when we evaluate it, it is going to print all of that information based on the formula that we have supplied in this expression. Again, this is currently in the developer preview. By the time it is in beta, maybe you might not be seeing formula eval as the namespace. Maybe you might be seeing formula builder.builder as the method call. There might be some changes in the method calls, so be aware of it once it is in beta. But if you are trying in developer preview, this is how you can do it at the moment. So here is the Apex roadmap. So I talked about null coalescing operator, UID support, and I did not show callouts after save point rollbacks, but these things are generally available at the moment. Again, formula evaluation in Apex is in developer preview. And if you're using something like Apex callouts, and if there is a response which is in zip format, at the moment you'll have to rely on some kind of libraries to really convert all of those things. But you have a zip support now with Apex, which is in developer preview, where you can unzip the response that you got to your callout. Now, what's coming? Most of the things which are in developer preview at the moment will be in beta in your upcoming release. And then in the longer term, we'll also be providing you something called as generics, where you can define the parametric types, and use those parametric types to call use the objects in general, generic objects. So this is a roadmap. Maybe you can take a screenshot. Maybe you can take a screenshot later also, because this will be available in the same live session link where you are watching this at the moment. That's all about Apex. The next set of updates I want to share is about Lightning Web Components. So here is a quick graph which shows the Aura versus LWC feature parity. So the things which were there are some gaps that are the features that are available in Aura are not currently available in LWC. But then we are working a lot on it, and here you can see the result, wherein dynamic components is now generally available since winter 24, and we have also provided will be providing utility bar and lighting out in future. You can expect utility bar somewhere around summer 24 release, and lighting out feature in winter 25. Let's see the features that are generally available at the moment. So what are dynamic components? Dynamic components is a way in which you can dynamically initialize the components. Maybe you have loaded a parent component, and then you want to initialize one of the child components dynamically. You don't know what component you are going to load. You can decide it during the runtime. Okay, how can you do that? You can do that by using one of the managed element called LWC component, which takes a parameter called LWC is. And to this parameter, you supply the component constructor from your JavaScript file. Now, how do you instantiate component constructor? Here is the JavaScript code, wherein you can see that I've defined a property called component constructor again, which is referenced in our HTML file. And this component constructor I'm populating in my load component method. So here I'm importing the recipe /hello. So I'm getting the hello component. I'm getting the component's default constructor and assigning it to the component constructor. So when the component is loaded, when the component is rendered, it is going to render this component in your component dynamically. So what is the benefit of it? You have the flexibility. So you can dynamically load the components during the runtime and the maintenance. So you can create some components which are reusable, and then load the components as and when they are required. That way you can easily maintain your components as well. The second update I wanted to share is Workspace API. Again, Workspace API is generally available from Spring 24. So this was one of the missing things in Lightning Web Components when compared to Aura framework. So we need a well-defined tab management for the Lightning console apps that now you can do with the Lightning Web Components. So whatever you had in your Aura through Lightning Workspace API, now it is available in your Lightning Web Components. You can import Lightning/platform Workspace API module, and then you can invoke all of your tab management methods. And for your convenience, we have also created some of the recipes in our famous LWC recipes app, where you can find around 9 recipes, which covers various aspects of how you can use Workspace API. Maybe if you're opening the tab, maybe you want to set the focus of the tab, or maybe you want to move to the sub tab, highlight a specific thing on the tab. So you can we have examples for all of these things. So we highly encourage you to go back and refer to LWC recipes to see what you can do with Workspace API. Okay, so whatever again we have seen so far are now available, generally available. So you can go and try those things. But what are coming in future? One of the things which I like most is the ability of using Lightning Web Component within your utility bar. So you can use your Lightning Web Component within your utility bar, where you can define the target as Lightning __ utility bar in your meta file, which is going to expose your component in your utility bar. Once it is exposed, you can write your Lightning Web Component code here, wherein here you can see an example. I'm using Platform Utility Bar API, and I'm getting the enclosing utility ID from within the utility bar. Once I have that utility ID, I can run a set of methods. I can enable model, I can enable prompt, all of these utility, in fact, various methods that I can use to control my utility within my utility bar. So those were the updates that were in our list, basically, and which we got from the Idea Exchange. But again, at the same time, we also run the surveys every year. So we got some survey results out of the survey where the most of the common ask was all about state management, local development, custom wire adapters, so on and so forth. And you can expect state management and local development in pilot in winter 25 and in winter, both of these things in pilot winter 25. They're going to be available in pilot. For those who don't know what is state management, assume you have an app which has a set of components. These components share data between the components during the execution, and you can manage these components if it's only a small bunch of components. But if there are a lot of bunch of components, then it's very difficult for you to manage the states of those components during runtime. So you are going to have a state management framework where you can, it's like a data structure where you can store states of all the components in your application there, wherein you can refer to those states at any point of time. So you can expect that. And then the next update that you are going to see is the local development. Local development is there at the moment, but I know many of you are facing a lot of problems with the local development. Local development is going to be more easy, more flexible, and more powerful from winter 25. Again, as I said, it is going to be in pilot. You can launch local development with a simple SF command, like you can say SF dev preview, and it is going to launch the local development. So while you are working on your Lightning Web Component, you can also see how the changes are coming along while you are building in your local development environment. If you want to, okay, and a couple more updates. I've shared the updates that are there in our list. I shared the updates that you asked through the survey. There are a few more updates which are available, which are interesting, which are coming up again. These are the future updates. One of the update is complex template expressions, where you can write any kind of ECMAScript component expressions with that in your Lightning Web Components. When I say that, for instance, if you want to write an inline JavaScript code within your HTML file, you should be able to do with the complex template expressions. So which opens up a large range of advantages, like you can efficiently build. You need not switch between the JavaScript code and the HTML code, so on and so forth. Let me show it with an example. So here I have a complex template expressions example where you can see I have two buttons. One is on click for decrement, one for increment. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a inline code instead of writing the JavaScript implementation in the JavaScript file. Here you can see that I'm writing the logic for increment and decrement right in my HTML file, and it is possible with the complex template expressions. The next thing I want to share is source maps in Lightning Web Components. For those who don't know what are source maps, if you have ever debugged your Lightning Web Components, maybe when you write the code, when you render the code in your browser. So here on the left side, you can see this is the code, a very small example, easy to understand example. When it is rendered in the browser, probably it is rendered something like what you see in the right side box. So here your method name is replaced with something else. Your parameters are replaced with something else, and it is very difficult for you to debug. So source maps are a kind of files which can store the actual code that you have written. So when the source map is enabled, you can when the debug is enabled, you can go to the link here and you can see what exact code it is, how the code looks like. So that is going to make your life a lot easy when you want to debug your Lightning Web Components. So here is a quick release roadmap. So I talked about a few things here. I talked about utility bar in LWC, which will be available in summer 24. And then there are a few things which will be available in winter 25 and spring 25. You can see the local development preview, state management in LWC, which will be in pilot. And you can expect complex template expressions to be generally available along with lightning out and source maps in your winter 25 release. So you can again take a screenshot of what you can expect in the upcoming releases. I know, so I'm telling that there are a few things which are in pilot. You might be you might be wondering like, no, if at all you want to test something, you want to try it beforehand in pilot, how can you do that? You can scan this code. This is a future pilot sign up form. You can sign up for any of the pilot features that you want to try out by yourself before they are generally available. So you can scan this code. Again, as I said, this video will be available. If you miss scanning, you can also scan it later. And I also encourage you to please take the 2024 LWC survey. The survey link is available right here. And as you can see in my presentation today, I shared some of the features that were implemented by taking inputs from the survey. So you are being listened through survey. So you can share all your thoughts through the survey link so that it helps us build the latest components that will be useful for you. With that said, I'd like to hand it over back to Aditya to show some exciting new features for admins from TrailblazerDX. Back to you, Aditya.
All right. So you're able to see my slides, right? The challenges you have today. Satya, can you confirm?
Yes, Aditya, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So when it comes to user management, so again, we keep hearing a lot of complaints from people on what they don't like about it and how they want to see things better. So we are listening to all of your feedback, and we are actively working on it. And in the next slides, you'll see how much we are working on it. In fact. So the first problem that people told us is troubleshooting takes time, like finding out why a user doesn't have access to something. So that's something you were not able to figure out quite easily. And then features are difficult to learn and use, like setup has a lot of clicks, the UI is all over the place. And that's the third point. In fact, like there are too many clicks to do a particular task. So these are the challenges that you told us that you have, and we have fixed that. And we'll look at three different aspects and see how we have fixed stuff for you. So first thing is, let's say whenever you're creating a user, there are a bunch of things that you need to do. For example, you need to assign them permission sets, assign them permission set licenses, add them to public groups and queues and so on. And in order to do all of this manually, it will take you a lot of time and a lot of clicks. And you'll also have to keep a documentation in place on what all permissions are needed for a particular type of user. So that's what you're going to do. That's what you have done until today. But going forward, you'll be able to do that with under 5 clicks using our new user access policies. So user access policies is essentially a set of rules that you define and a set of permissions that have to be assigned. So it's just a configuration that you do in terms of what has to be done, and all of it is automated. So in this, basically, when you define a user criteria, you say if the user matches this criteria, go ahead and assign this permission set, add them to this queue, add them to this license, and so on and so forth. So you get to set up all of those rules, and a bunch of these rules together is what defines your policy. And you can apply this policy on a one-off basis, like whenever a user is created or updated, you can do that, or you can run a batch operation where you update a bunch of records or a bunch of user records at once. So that's going to be generally available really soon within the next release. It's right now in beta, available in enterprise and unlimited orgs, if I'm not wrong. So here is a quick screenshot of how things look. So if you can see, this is a user access policy. It has an API name and some other basic normal details. But then what's important here is the user criteria. You get to define when this happens. Think of it like a flow trigger. You define when this trigger is executed, right? So that's how it is. And in terms of actions, you can actually either grant access or revoke access as well. So here we are granting access to this permission set group, and public group. So what happens is whenever a user is created or updated with this particular criteria, it actually grants these particular permission set groups. And when you automate this, this is the automation criteria. So it's nothing but a trigger which automatically grants or revokes multiple things: permissions, permission set groups, queues, public groups, and so on. So that's the first enhancement we have made in order to make sure it is easier for you to manage access to all of your users. But now then comes the second bigger problem, which is to identify what a user has access to. So let's say you're looking at a particular user record and you want to know what all objects, what all fields, what apps a user has access to. In order to do that, you typically have to go to that profile, click on all of the different permission sets, open them in different tabs. There are a lot of clicks involved in order for you to figure it out. But now we are going to show you a summary, and you can actually get to know all of this data through under 5 clicks actually. This is what we call the user access summary, and this is also generally available from the next release. If you notice, there is a lot of coins that people have put into this on Idea Exchange, and it has a lot of points. So we have delivered this for you. Basically, I can show you the UI here. So this is going to be your user detail page. You're going to have a new button called User Access Summary. Once you click that button, you will come to this view where you're going to see all the details of the user. But most importantly, you're going to see the access summary. What are all the user permissions they have: object permissions, field permissions, custom. So it's a nice little UI to show you everything they have access to at a glance. So for example, if it is the object permissions, we're going to show you all the different permissions that they have. Now, in a very similar way, let's say you are looking at a permission set or a permission set group, and you want to identify what all access is this permission set or a group going to give people. So we have done that as well. It's again going to be a summary, permission set and permission set group summary, again available in the next release. Again, the UI is going to look very much similar. Instead of you seeing for a particular user, you're going to see the summary for a particular permission set. Again, what all groups this permission set belongs to, what are the user permissions, object permissions, field permissions, you get the idea. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, again, another idea exchange idea that you have given us, like for 18 years, you've been asking for an easier way to create users. And we have delivered that. Now, the way we have delivered that is we have given you the ability to clone a given user. Now, whenever you're cloning this given user, along with pre-filling the fields, what you can also clone is the permission set, groups, public group, queue membership. All of these assignments can also be cloned whenever you create a new user from an existing user. So this is something that we are offering really soon. Um, and actually, people were pretty excited whenever we showed this at TDX. Now, the other thing that we are offering is the ability to compare access. So let's say there is one user who's able to see a record versus some other user who's not able to see, and you want to know why that is happening. So there is a compare access screen that we are giving you. Select these two users, and it's going to show you like a comparison of what they're able to access and what they're not able to access, and why. So the why part comes in whenever you click that extra button that you have the action, you'll be able to see why is this particular access there, which permission set is this access coming from, which permission set group this access is coming from. So you'll be able to compare all of this and make a wise call on why this is happening, so that you can assign that particular permission or remove the permission depending on what you're looking for. And finally, again, another idea exchange thing that we have knocked off is troubleshooting these problems. Now, the comparison is good. We are giving you everything, but what if you don't want to do that as well? We are going to take the help of Copilot. So the thing that I showed you earlier is not just for end users, the Copilot experience. We are also trying to give it for admins. So essentially, what you can do is ask Copilot, and it's going to help figure things out. So you just ask a question: can they access report folders? Then it goes back, it figures out that they can't. And then if you want to assign the permission set to let them access reports, you just click yes and it's done. So these are all the ways in which we are trying to really simplify the way you work with users and permissions instead of you having to do multiple clicks. Now, this is our roadmap. So in summer 24, improved experience, user access policies, summaries for user access, permission sets and permissions and groups. Coming soon is going to be an improved admin experience. You're going to get a whole lot more in terms of troubleshooting and general enhancements in terms of UI. And that's going to continue on. And this is going to be an ongoing effort. And most of this is based on your feedback. So make sure if you have something, go on to Idea Exchange and post that so that we take a look at it and add it to our roadmaps. So that was about a user management. Now, when it comes to automation, which is going to be our final topic for today, there are a bunch of updates. So the first one that we are piloting is Einstein for Flow. So what Satya has shown you was Einstein for Developers, where you ask a question and it generates code for you. In the case of Einstein for Flow, you're going to ask the same question, but now it's going to generate a flow. So type in whatever you want, say I want to create a flow that does so, and it's automatically going to generate a bare bones flow, which of course you'll have to take a look and update before activating the flow. Now that's going to be coming really soon. Right now it is in pilot, so reach out to your account executives in order to get access to this pilot. Now also we are making a few UI updates in order to make sure you are able to use the flow builder in a better way. So the resource picker predominantly is where you're going to see some updates in terms of naming, grouping, and so on and so forth. So the grouping is going to be a little bit better. The label is going to be shown first, and you click that label, and then you're going to see all the other details. So some UI updates, not groundbreaking in terms of technical functionality, but it's going to make your job easier when creating flows. Now, what we're also going to launch soon is a new automation app for admins. So essentially, think of this to be like your supercharged homepage for all your automations. Now, we are not removing flows from setup, that's going to still be there. But this is a new additional way in which you can get a glance of what all flows you have, what are the status, and if your flows have been erroring out, what are the different flows that have errored out and what those errors are. And in terms of your flow trigger explorer, you can actually click this button and see all of your different triggered flows. And if there is something new that is launched, we are going to show it right here. So kind of like a at a glance view that we are planning to roll out, again, to make the job of an admin easier. Again, enhanced list views, search across all of your flows, recent errors, and finally flow trigger explorer and new highlights. So there was a little bit of an animation. Coming to the technical features that we are launching, data transformation. This is something that we already launched where you are able to map one particular data format to another. So that's something that is already there using the new transform element inside flows. Now we are making that better. So in the sense that in the future, this is the roadmap that we have. We are going to give you the ability to merge two different collections together and have a merged collection. So merging is going to come in the future. And then you can chain all of these transforms. So you have one transform, you merge, and then do another transform. So that kind of a chaining is what we allow you to do, and more to come. And again, Idea Exchange is the place where we want you to go and put all of your ideas. And we're going to take a look and prioritize. In terms of flow reactivity, as you know, we've been working with reactive screens for the past two releases. Reactive screens was enabled two releases ago. Not a lot of elements were supported, and we are adding a lot of element support over the releases. Right now, components, formulas, choice, display, all of these are reactive. Starting summer 24, collection choice sets is also going to be reactive. So more and more reactive support is what we are offering. Now, this is an exciting announcement, which I personally like, which is the ability to fire off a flow on the click of a button. So in the example, if you see, you can actually define a button on your screen flow, and on click of that button, you can fire off an auto-launched flow that's going to go do some business process, get some data back, and then you can show that data to the user. So that's something that we are launching in beta in the next release. And again, the possibilities are endless, which means you need not really write Apex or call an Apex action or a flow or a subflow. On the click of a button, you do stuff in the background, get the result back, and show it on the same screen to the user, thanks to all the reactivity that we are building in. So this is something that is again coming out soon. So in case you are building workarounds at the moment, maybe hold off for a release and then you can use this new dynamic data. Again, the most important announcement of all of this is going to be the end of support for process builder and workflow rules. So December 31st, 2025 is the deadline after which we are not going to support it. If you're building new automations, use flows. If you're updating your existing automations, you'll have to migrate. As you can see right now, edit and activate are only enabled to support your migration, but then we won't deactivate your automations, but it's just that you won't be able to update them any further. So start migrating them. December 31st is until when we will support your process builder and workflow rules. So I think that's pretty much it. Whatever I covered in automation is actually at a very high level. Like I told you, most of these sessions are already there on YouTube and on Salesforce Plus. So we are going to share the resources link with you in the chat window real soon. Akash, you might want to put that resources link up. So you scan the QR code or go to that link, and essentially what you're going to see is a bunch of links that you can go to, which are those deep dive sessions for each of the topics that we covered today. So with that, we are almost out of time. So we would like to thank you for joining us, but we can stay on and look at a few questions. I've been answering some questions directly on LinkedIn. But if not, we can right now answer a few questions. If you want to drop off, you can. Thank you for staying even after 1 hour. We really appreciate all of you. But given the number of topics we tried to give you at a glance, it was bound to go a little overboard. But thank you. And if you want to stay on and ask your questions, please feel free to do so. We'll stay on for 5 more minutes.
Yeah,
But
most of the questions that were asked, Aditya, I think they're all answered there. But if you have more questions, maybe another 5 minutes we can answer those questions. Even if you have questions later after the session, you can still post the questions in the comment section. We keep watching the comment section, and then we can answer your questions right there as well.
okay. Um, any questions coming in?
I don't think so, but yeah, someone was asking if we can upload Daniel Ballinger's TDX session on YouTube. It will be helpful. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
It has a lot of updates, lot of effects updates for sure. Yeah. I
Okay.
think most of the questions are answered here, but yeah, if you still have, you can just post your questions in the comment section and we can answer.
Okay. I don't see any new questions coming in. Yeah,
Yeah.
we will upload the session. Nice features. Thank you. Actually, thanks to the product team for delivering all of these features.
So yeah, so whatever we have brought in today, they're all from the product team's presentations. So we could get some of the things from there, some of the demos from there, and then we could show all of those things here. I hope you all enjoyed that.
All right. I think let's call it a day, and all of
Yeah.
you have a very good week ahead, and hope to see you in another live stream really soon.
Thank you everyone for joining this session today.